How can you plan to eat a holiday meal with your friends and family and still stay on track?
Right? Is it even possible to stay on plan with all of the pressure and all of the pies? I mean, 'tis the season.
If you're looking for some tools and tips to stay on track during all those holiday meals, then this edition of the First In Q&A with J&A is for you. My name is Jonathan Montgomery.
And I'm Ann Montgomery.
And we're the co-founders of First In Nutrition.
If you want to learn more about what coaching and community can do for you, head on over to firstinnutrition.com.
And if you're ready to find out more about hitting your goals while still having a happy holiday season, you're in the right place. Let's get to it. This first question came in, and it's a pretty good one. How can I plan to eat a holiday meal with my family and still stay on track with my goals?
It's a good question.
It is a good question. And sometimes you'll hear the concept that the answer to the problem is found outside the problem. In this case, I'm going to say the answer to the question is kind of found right inside the question. How can I plan to eat a holiday meal with my family and still stay on track with my goals? And if you've been following along with the First In Q&A with J&A, or even if this is your first time, I'm hoping the context clues that I just laid down might have hinted into what I'm talking about here. And that is, you can plan to eat a holiday meal with your family and still stay on track with your goals by planning to do just that, by making sure you keep your goals at the forefront, by making sure you plan around the meal the rest of your day, and make sure you go in with a plan so you don't find yourself suddenly off your plan. And I think that's going to be the best way you're going to be able to do this.
I think, yeah. How can I plan? That might be a stop right there. This could be, how can I plan to do anything? How could I plan to get to work in the morning? How could I plan to walk the dog? How could I plan to work out? Like, you can plan. How you choose to plan, that's a different question. And I really do think that that's where this question is going. And so that's what we're going to answer.
Right.
But it is, surprise, planning.
Oh, I didn't see that coming.
There's definitely, like all situations, a multifactorial approach to this. And it's going to be kind of along the logistic side of things where planning comes into play, but also in the choices and decision-making side of things. So right out the gate, there's some strategies you can use when it comes to eating a holiday meal. Depending on when that meal is during the day, a holiday breakfast isn't necessarily the most popular option, maybe a holiday brunch, but it's normally going to be a lunch, a dinner, a dinner, a supper, I don't know. Whatever you want to call it, we're going to say probably from afternoon on, right? That's when it's going to be set up. And so knowing that going into it, it allows you to decide how you want to bookend around that meal, what you want to do before that meal, and what, if anything, you want to do after that meal. And I think those are the two biggest chances you have to succeed right there.
Yeah, I agree. It's probably more popular to have later in the day. But we can kind of adjust some of these tactics so that if you do have a brunch or you're a Christmas breakfast person, you can totally do that too. I think just to start off, one of my favorite things to do is front load protein. And we could say front load or back load. If you're doing the brunch thing, you can always back load it later at somebody's house or at your own house. Front loading protein or back loading protein is probably the first thing I do. And the reason is when we go to Thanksgiving meals, Christmas meals, whatever it is you have, yes, there's some protein, but is that really the biggest portion of something that you want to eat? I mean, let's be really honest here, right? It's grandma's cherry pie that I want to eat, or maybe it's Aunt Tina's casserole. I don't really have an Aunt Tina. I just like to use the name, so I'm apologizing to my fake Aunt Tina here. Aunt Tina's casserole that she makes, a sweet potato casserole with all the stuff in it. That's very little to no protein. It's not generally your higher protein foods. You're not going in going, I'm going to eat 6 plates of turkey breast. You know, that's right. It doesn't sound like your idea of the holiday plate. So front loading your protein, you can get it in a lot of different ways. Jonathan will probably have some suggestions too. I think one of my favorites is actually eating food, because I don't do well with no food in my stomach for a majority of the day. So if I know that I'm saving for a meal later, I need to stay full, and I'm going to be short on protein, I like giant plates of egg whites. Just simple. I will chop up giant plates of egg whites with veggies, or I've been known to make dessert eggs. Pro tip, if you like sweet things, you can put a little bit of cinnamon, Splenda if you use it, brown sugar, whatever you like, sugar-free syrup on top. You can make dessert egg whites, and they're amazing.
Super good. Super good. Yeah, front-loading protein is going to be a good way to go, not just because the holiday meal could very well be devoid of it almost entirely or considerably, but also because front-loading protein, easy for me to say, front-loading protein is going to give you the option to do a couple things. One, start chipping away at those goals, which may be in shorter supply at the holiday meal. But two, do just what Ann said, and that's start getting your belly full. Start pre-gaming in your stomach with some dense protein sources that are going to help keep you full so you don't show up to the holidays hangry. Now, I take complete different philosophies when it comes to holiday meals because I'm a little bit of a different eater. But that's because I know myself. And even still, and I'll get into what I'm talking about here in a minute. I've got the shroud of mystery all over everything. But even still, I'll front load protein even knowing their strategies. But what Ann's talking about by wanting to eat her food, eat her protein, and using a filling source like an egg white, not only is it enjoyable because it's the act of eating and not just drinking her food, but those whole food protein sources, they're also generally filling protein sources. So a belly full of egg whites is going to sit differently than a belly full of protein shake. So you want to make sure that you're paying attention to going to a meal in a state with which you can make the most rational decisions. Myself, I opt for a different philosophy when it comes to holiday meals. Going in, staying full, and not being ravenous when you get there is a great way to make sure you don't fill up a plate that your eyes, start writing that check that your calorie budget can't cash. On the other hand, my strategy is one that I deploy as often as possible when I want a large meal, and I affectionately refer to it as coffee and hate, because that's all I'm going to consume before I get to the meal. I'm going to get some coffee, and I'm going to get some hate, and I'm going to just consume those in mass quantities so I can save all of my budget humanly possible until the big event, the main event of the glorious holiday meal.
Let's get it all!
But that's because I have a lot of experience with that. That's because I know how to tolerate being hungry, and that's because I'm going to make sure I plan everything I want at that meal, and I am going to stick and adhere to that plan. And that's a dicey gamble.
Yeah, it is, especially if you're somebody that gets hangry, like I do. If you don't want to eat in the morning, you do have other options. One of our favorite options is to take a Jocko Fuel Mulk RTD, the ready-to-drink liquid shakes, and put that in coffee. Because he still gets to enjoy his coffee and hunger hate. We're talking about hunger hate here. Coffee and hate, but he gets a little protein bump too. Or throw some collagen in the coffee in the morning, something like that. So you don't have to eat your protein sources. It comes down to you and knowing how you respond.
The other thing is knowing what's going to be available. We're going to a holiday meal. The question specifically said holiday meal with your family, and stay on track with your goals so it's important to you. So pick up that phone. Reach out to whomever, the familial unit you are going to be dining with.
Aunt Tina.
No. Aunt Tina, take your casserole, get out of here. Pick up the phone and find out what is being served for dinner. That way you can plan for it. You can go ahead and pre-enter the foods that you want to consume in some rough quantities, pat it out a little bit, but you can go ahead and you can put Grandma's cherry pie in there. You can put Aunt Tina's sweet potato casserole in there. You can put all of these foods in there, and by doing that ahead of time, you get to see what's left. So it's like you've already spent that portion of your budget, and now you get to backfill the rest of your day. And yeah, man, if you're going freaking hard in the paint on the holiday meal, it may look like a bunch of egg whites. It may be a bunch of lean protein sources, but that's okay. That's the price to pay to have a meal with your family and still stay on track. And it's not a bad price to pay. I mean, we're talking about cherry pie and Aunt Tina.
Totally worth it. Totally. It's a good strategy for sure. Filling in your day first. It's kind of like this. Did anybody's parents when you were younger used to give you like, here's $20. Like maybe I did something or a chore. I earned $20 and I'm holding this $20 bill and I wanted things. And I wanted this thing and that thing and the other thing. And so I had to pick the things that I wanted the most first and figure out how much I had left. So my parents used to play this game with me. Well, you said you want this, this, and this, and that's going to be $16.75. So now you only have this many dollars left. What are you going to spend it on? Guys, if you leave yourself 200 calories for the entire day outside of this meal, you got two options. One, make it work with 200 calories and understand that you may have some hangry minutes during that day, and that's okay. Or two, rebudget that holiday meal so that maybe it's not taking up such a large portion of your day. But that's the beauty of pre-planning, or at least pre-estimating for your meal, so you can kind of get an idea of where you're at.
Yeah, I think it's very smart to know who you are. Are you somebody that can go in to a pressure situation where there's lots of calorie dense, delicious food choices and go in there hungry and stick to your guns? Or are you someone that would be better off going in with more food volume? If the case is you can go in hungry and stick to your guns, you have a little bit more room in that budget, right? You have a little bit more room to go in and enjoy more and whatever, but you also have a great responsibility to yourself.
With great power comes great responsibility.
If staying on plan and sticking to your goals is key to you, to cut it off when you've cut it off. And that's where pre-planning comes into play. If you're someone, to thine own self be true, don't be trying to fudge this. If you're someone that does better with a little bit more full belly and not with those big old eyes, then maybe having some voluminous food on the way. You know, is it going to be weird if you're sitting there munching a bag of green beans or broccoli in the car on the way? I don't know. I don't care. You know, if that helps you stick to your goal, then maybe front loading with some veggie volume before you walk in to the spot where it's all going to go down, maybe that will help you out as well. So like Ann says, egg whites and veggies really help keep her full and front load protein. So let's get some voluminous choices in there if you like having a full belly.
There are a couple little actionable things. They might help you, they might not. But two things, if I am at a holiday meal and I want to eat more, or I'm struggling because I ate what I planned for and I don't have more room in my calorie budget, or I'm not willing to give up my snack when we get home later, I have a couple of options. One, overhydrate. Drink a whole lot of water. Or I like iced tea or diet soda. I will start pounding liquids because they'll fill up my belly, and you'll get that stretch reflex in your stomach where it says, oh, we're full. Be careful, because yeah, you might get that little sloshy belly feeling. But what it's not going to do is allow me extra room for food. I'm no longer going to have that, I'm hungry, I'm starving, I need to eat something desire. So that can kind of help stave off while you logically think through, do I really want to crush this right now? Are my goals worth it to me? Am I okay with saying, hey, let's go ham, eat all the things? It gives you time to kind of think through that a little. The second thing is chewing gum. I will bring gum to every meal out at a restaurant we have, because it never fails. We go to Outback, and when we go, I love this bread. I love that dark bread that they serve with the but I don't know what it is, but it never fails that we eat the bread, I eat what I planned for, and then they bring 2 more loaves because they see that you've eaten it, and they're like, oh, we'll bring you more bread, it's fine, here's an entire table of bread. And I'm sitting there going, oh gosh, even after I eat whatever I've planned for my meal, I have my steak and my broccoli and my potato, that bread is still sitting there staring at me. I know that I struggle with that, so I'll pop gum in my mouth. If I'm chewing some sort of mint gum, cinnamon gum, the chances that I'm going to reach down and grab a piece of bread and have mint flavored bread, probably 0. It's kind of gross. I don't even want to drink my Diet Coke at that point, right? So I like to chew gum, have it on me. It's just some little actionable things you can do if you are struggling, if this is your first holiday season where you're starting to plan and you really want to stay on track. Those are things that help.
Another good strategy too, and it's a little bit different. Don't do this directly at the table like you do the gum, but brush your teeth, right? Bring a little travel toothbrush. Brush them chiclets, man.
Not at the table.
Get all the casserole out. Get all the turkey and stuffing out between your teeth. Nobody wants to talk to anybody with the broccolis hanging out. Brush them teeth. You're probably not going to want to shove food back down your gullet when you have a fresh, minty mouth. Another strategy we talked about beforehand, and we've talked about planning. We've talked about putting in what you really want to put in. Guys, we could tell you to fill your plate with vegetables and lean protein sources and white meat only, and let's go ahead and get 3 fistfuls of broccoli. It's a holiday.
Hey, it's a holiday.
If that's what you're going to do, you probably wouldn't have too many questions on how to stay on plan. Is that an option? Absolutely. Can you eat like an adult first and have lean protein sources and broccoli and then go back for a second flight of smaller portion sized items? You absolutely can. But if those are strategies and tools in your toolbox, I reckon you know you can deploy them. One thing I want to talk about outside of that, though, is we've made inquiries about the meal. We've future casted what we want to eat. We put in all our calorie dense options and we're looking at our budget left. Let's maybe not spend it all before we get there. Let's not necessarily trust ourselves to rise to the occasion on willpower alone and stick to this plan. Why don't we leave a little buffer left? Why don't we save a little jingly stuff that we can backfill after this meal? Putting 10-15% of your calorie budget there as a buffer is going to serve 2 purposes. One, you're going to be able to have a snack, and snacks are awesome. And you can fight me on that one, bro.
Wait, are you trying to fight me, bro?
I like to end every night with a snack, and I'm not going to give that up. So that's going to help me stick on plan. But 2, let's say something amazing came out. Maybe this Aunt Tina character didn't tell you that in addition to the casserole she was making something else amazing. I don't know, sticky toffee pudding or some kind of monkey bread. Maybe some kind of, I don't know, delicious ice cream cake that she didn't make, but she opened it up from the package. It sounded amazing. Whatever it is, something you didn't plan for, something that you didn't see coming your way, but you just can't find it in your heart to resist. You now have a little backup budget. You now have a little bit of extra padding so you don't paint yourself into a corner, so you don't start looking for forgiveness because you already gave yourself permission in the event it happened by planning for it.
Those are probably my favorite actionable steps. One thing I do want to hit on is we talked about beforehand and we talked about during the meal. He talked about what happens if somebody brings something spectacular that you can't say no to. What about when it comes time to leave? Here's something that I like to do. Maybe there are things that I want to eat, but maybe I didn't budget for it. So maybe I budgeted 1 slice of pie, but there's 4 types of pie and I can't decide and I really want to have one. What if you take it home? What if you plan for it tomorrow and the next day and the next day? The cool thing about holiday parties and holiday meals are leftovers. That's my favorite thing, is bring home the leftovers. Now, this again is something you have to know yourself. If you're going to put the pie in a styrofoam container and take it home with you and you're going to eat it in the car on the way home, probably not the best plan. But if somebody brings out something so fantastic, you have to have it. Start thinking through, hey, can I make this fit in the next few days? Can I take it home? That pie will sit. It'll be great, fantastic, warmed up with ice cream on top, right? When you have the calorie budget for it. Just because the food is there doesn't mean that it's just going to disappear and you'll never have it again. Take some of it home with you. Bring it home. People love to tell you, take the food, take the extras. I don't want them in the house.
Super smart, super smart. And that was something that I wasn't even thinking about. But a little pro tip here for you guys. You got your little plastic containers, right? Everybody's got little plastic containers. Yep. Whether your grandma gave you the old country crock, you brought your own Tupperware. Maybe you're a Johnny on the spot with your meal prep containers. Look at you. Here's a little pro tip for you. So you can avoid that, eat it on the way home. Bring your roll of duct tape. Just duct tape those things right up, a little crisscross pattern. You ain't going to get into it in the car on the way home.
Hey, there you go.
Save you from yourself, man. I'm here for it. Maybe I'm a guy that likes food. I don't know.
Or hey, if I'm driving, I will put it behind the driver's seat on the floor. Shoot, I'll put that sucker in the trunk if I have to risk eating it on the way home.
Tape it up. Tape it up, fam. Tape it up. But at the end of the day, ultimately, all of these tactics and all of these strategies and all of these actions you can take only work if you choose to take them. It's up to your choices. It's up to what matters to you most. If you want to plan to eat a holiday meal and still stay on track with your goals, then you have to plan to do both of those things. You can't just plan to do one and hope the other happens. And I think that's the biggest thing about it, is you have to go into this with the idea and the mindset of what you want most from the meal. It's one of those things, guys, where we use the phrase happy holidays. You got to ask yourself what happy holidays actually look like to you. Is it happiness in the moment, YOLOing it up and eating all the stuff?
Maybe.
Maybe. But if that leads to regret the next morning, then that's not actually happiness, because happiness isn't just in a moment. It's for all the moments after the moment, right? It's the holiday season. So if you want to have a happy holiday season, then you need to make sure you're making choices you can actually be happy with. And one of the biggest ones is something you really want to internalize. And that's, what are the holidays about? Are they about time with friends and family? Or are they about time to stuff your face? They could be both. But one thing to understand is something that I really want you guys to internalize here. And that's, sharing the company of others does not require you to share the plate. You can absolutely enjoy the holidays with your family, stay on track and hit your goals, and not miss a beat, and not miss out on a single thing if you choose to. But you have to choose to. And I think that's the best thing I got for that. If you stuck around this far, thanks for hanging out with us. If you like what you heard or think someone else might dig it, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share, or whatever the cool kids say.
If you want to learn more about First In or hear more from our family, you can find us on the socials at First In Nutrition.
And if you're looking for actionable ways to put yourself first, head over to fieldnotes.firstinnutrition.com to join the Field Notes faction for weekly tools and tactics to keep yourself on the path to progress. Because the people that depend on you the most
Deserve you at your best.